What a gorgeous day to be in the woods. It is the middle of January. It is a beautiful sunny day. I don't think, well, maybe the tiniest bit of cloud, but otherwise none. No wind, hovering right around the freezing mark. Does it get any better than this? Really? Do you know, a week and a half ago, we had 18 inches, 45 centimeters of snow on the ground out here. I came out here one day to record some videos and have a coffee, and I couldn't make it to where I wanted to go because the snow was as deep as it was, and I wasn't prepared for, I didn't bring snowshoes. That's the answer to that one. And then we had a week of rain and fog and warmer temperatures, and this is all there's left of that 18 inches of snow, all gone. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not, well, okay, it's becoming more typical than it usually was or usually has been. Yeah, this is more of a typical January. We'll still get snow and our temperatures will still drop, but not like the winters of my youth. I guess that's the best way to say it. Okay, so what am I doing out here today? Well, besides to come out and enjoy a beautiful day in the woods and have a cup of coffee, I thought I'd make another one of my series of hike and a coffee videos. And this time the topic is going to be on product reviews. I know that sounds funny to say a hike and a coffee video talking about product reviews, but that's what I want to do. I'm going to talk about how I got into it, how I go about making them, and my thoughts on product reviews. So if you're interested, keep watching. You can see there's some ice and some snow left in that little cove, but then it's open water, ice, open water, ice, and it's like that right across the lake. Open water right in front of me, and ice way out in the distance. It was all frozen last week, all the rain and warm temperatures, and now it's a lot of open water. It's going to have to freeze up a lot before I'd even venture out onto that. Okay, here we are. Well, much better than the last time I came in through here. 18 inches of snow, brought a little snow shovel, dug it all out so I could sit down. None of that today. Okay, so I have arrived at my coffee spot. This is a spot I'd like to come to in the winter time. It's a little easier to get to than some of the ones I go to in the summertime. But it still provides, actually what it provides me, you can't see it though, is that's north, and this big rock face here and the trees are blocking the wind coming out of the north, so that is significant when you're trying to be heard on your microphone as well. Plus the sun is up here middle to the west. I only got a few hours left today before the sun goes down, so I'll have to get moving on things. So my plan is set up my hammock chair, gather a little bit of wood, put a little fire on and a wood stove I brought out, get some water to boil, make some coffee, and have a chat. All right, I'll bring you back. All right, in full disclosure, I had some lunch before I made my coffee. It took me a while to get a reasonable fire going in the Firebox Scout, which is what I'm using today. And mostly because, the woods are soaking wet. I split out wood, but it was just had been gotten wet and then froze. I eventually got it going enough that I could put a couple pieces of venison pepperoni. Boy, they were tasty. Spicy, but tasty. And then I got my kettle on. And the reason I brought the Scout out, as you can see, is I'm using the Firebox box pot. That's one of the things I'm testing today. Interesting that we should be talking about product reviews. This is not a review by any means. This is actually the first fire it's been on top of, so that wouldn't give me any chance to really fully evaluate. I want to try a number of things. And just the same, we can make some coffee. The water's boiling, as you can see. The means of making coffee, always a part of my videos, is another product that I'm testing out. And this is the Silver Ant Outdoors insulated mug with coffee filter and lid. And I've made coffee in this a few times, but again, not a review. This is still just testing, so I'll show you what it's all about. There's the filter, very, very fine holes, microscopic holes inside. I don't know what the millimeters are of them, but very, very small. Max capacity for the mug is 300 milliliters, so a little bit over a cup. And I have been pre-weighing My coffee, no, I shouldn't say that. Getting used to the cup and the system itself, I wanted to see what it would do with the standard ratio of 15 milligrams of coffee to 250 milligrams of water. So that's what I've been working with. That's pretty much what I'm going to do today, but I think I'll actually make it a little bit on the stronger side. So what I measured out of this type of coffee is it takes 2 tablespoons and a little bit, and that'll give me 15. I think I just put in about 17, so I just made it a little bit stronger. And then I do, well, mostly fill it up with water. Am I going to be able to do that? Yeah, I should be able to do that all by itself. Just take the lid off. Put that aside somewhere good. Mostly fill it up with water. So I know that because it's going to displace the coffee and the filter sulfur is going to displace some of the water, I boiled off more than I wanted. I've got about 200 milligrams of water in there, and that's all I have. So that's what we're going to go with. And I'll put it on and let it steep for a while. So this is an immersion brewer, and I'll give it 4 or 5 minutes. And then I lift the filter out and just let the coffee drain back into the cup. It is double walled, so it's not going to get cold on me. And yeah, then we're ready to go. I will tell you now, if you've got a very fine grind, which I am using quite a fine grind in this, there will be a fair amount of silt or fines in the bottom of the cup. So, you know, that's one of those things to expect. Anytime you're using a metal filter, you will get some grinds, depending on the quality of the filter, of course. All right, coffee is steeping, and in a few moments' time, I'll start the discussion. I wanted to show you the last step of making coffee with this coffee or Silver Ant system. It involves taking the filter out and letting the coffee drain, as you can see, and that'll just take a minute to all drain down. I'll wait until most of it's gone. There we go. And I can put that aside, and I'm left with a cup of coffee. It's a good thing this is a double wall mug, because that would be smoking hot otherwise. All right, it hits way too hot to try. So I'll put the lid back on. We'll get the discussion started, and I'll have a drink in a few minutes' time. Okay, now the next thing is I'm trying hard not to be in shadow. It is the middle of January. The sun is already getting low in the horizon. So I have the sun coming at me from this side, leaving me in shadow on this side, and I'm trying to block the wind coming from this direction. So hopefully you can see me and hear me. All right, more importantly, let's get to the topic at hand. Now, I did make notes for myself, as I do with all my videos. I make notes. I don't talk off the top of my head. I do research prior to, and I guess that's already a point I'm trying to make about product reviews. But maybe the first point I do want to make is, why am I making this video in the first place? What am I hoping to accomplish by making this video? And there's a number of reasons, I guess, but the 2 biggest reasons is I'm trying to dispel a few of the myths that people have about product reviews and YouTubers. I'll get to each of those myths. I'll identify them in a few moments' time. You probably already have guessed what the major points are. I'm not trying to justify myself. I'm not trying to convince anybody to change their mind about what they think of my reviews. If my reviews don't stand on their own, and you don't trust what I have to say, then feel free to go somewhere else, okay? I'm not trying to convince you of the quality and the integrity of my reviews. Hopefully they do that, stand on their own, each and every one. But I want to tell you how I got to the point I am now with my product reviews. Where did it all start with? And it's funny, you know, I never intended to be a product review channel. My intent was to share bushcraft knowledge and skills. That was my original intent when I started. And if you look at a lot of my earlier videos, that's what they're focused on. You know, it's making fire, it's making coffee. That's still one of my focuses, I know, because I still enjoy making coffee out here. Whether or not you consider that a bushcraft skill, it's certainly a skill for the woods. And, you know, that's where I started out. But then one day I took out a stove that I personally purchased. It was this was the very first one, the Luxada wood gas stove. It comes in 3 pieces, collapses down, and it fit inside of an MSR Seagull pot 775 milliliter pot. I think it all claps together. I purchased those myself, and I had been using those for some time. And maybe one of my viewers commented and asked me, what's the setup you have? And I said, you know, why not? I'll share that with you. That's how I actually got it started in doing product reviews. I shared that first item. Now, I was encouraged by viewers that they enjoyed that, they appreciated that. What else could I show them? Basically, that was the intent of some of the comments. So I started going through my personal equipment, things that I had purchased myself, and then things that I had made as well. And you know, a lot of my earlier videos were focused around DIY projects, which I still enjoy doing when I have time. That's a whole other issue, when I have time. So those were the things that I started looking at in terms of reviews. Now, here's what happens, and anyone who does product review knows, sooner or later, oh yeah, and I guess some of the other products that I reviewed, not just ones that I purchased, but quite a few of them, I guess, were things that were gifted to me by my family at Christmas and birthday. And, you know, I'd make a Christmas list and share it with my family. And guess what? It was all outdoor stuff. So especially my kids, as they got older, you know, that was great. Dad provided them with a list. They could go to the place or Amazon or Mountain Equipment Co-op or wherever, purchase the items and give them to me. I loved it. And, you know, eventually I brought those to review as well. But what happens with all reviewers at some point in time is that a company is going to take notice of your channel. You get to a certain point, and if you have a reasonable following, doesn't even have to be all that big a following, and you get quite a certain number of views, I don't know what their math is and what their threshold is, they reach out and offer to send you something and ask if you will review it in exchange for the item. And I'll tell you, and again, anyone who does product reviews knows this or will have experienced this. The first time it happens, you go, oh wow, someone actually thinks I'm doing a good enough job that they're going to take a chance on me and send me something for free. I'll come back to that in a few moments' time. And if it's in line with what I was going to be, okay, there's a couple things. When I choose an item, this is also a key piece. When I choose an item for review, it has to pass a couple of criteria. First and foremost, it's got to be something I want. Something I would have, or if I could justify the price of it, purchased myself. Something I would enjoy using, something I would continue to use long after the review is done. That's not criteria number one. If it's not something that I'm personally interested in, then I'm not going to review it for my channel. And the second criteria is it something you would like to see? Now that's a little harder for me to assess. Hopefully the items that I want to review are items you want me to review as well. Now, I know that not every item I review appeals to every viewer, and that's okay. I understand that. In fact, it may be a small percentage of viewers at any given time are looking for the information I provide on a given product. So that's fine. I still feel that there are viewers that want to see those products, and that's the reason why I review them. I will tell you this, and again, anyone who is doing product reviews knows this. I accept, oh yeah, and that's the next thing. As you build your channel, more and more companies will reach out to you. And I think they just look at numbers. They have nothing to do with the quality of your videos or anything. They just look at your numbers and say, take a chance on them, send them something. They may not send you anything a second time, but they'll offer it the first time. I will tell you this, I accept, and most of the time review. I don't always review things that I accept for testing, and we'll get to that as well. Probably 1 in 10 items offered me. Any given day when I get up in the morning and I open my email, there are offers for things that are so far outside the scope of what my channel theme is that I say, do you even know what my channel's about? And I just say, no thank you, and move on. But every so often, something will come along that I had not considered reviewing before, and I'll look at it and I'll say, I don't know, can I relate that to my channel as it is now? Is it something that I would use out here in the woods? Sometimes they're not, quite honestly, like a power station, all right? I've reviewed a number of power stations, but it occurred to me that this is something I would use car camping, and do use car camping. That's the other thing I do besides being out here by myself doing bushcraft and what other skills that I do out here and enjoying myself. Jean and I go car camping during the summer. And, it's car camping is not about roughing it, it's about smoothing it, and we like to have our conveniences. We're glamping as much as we are camping. But things like a 12-volt refrigerator requires a power station. And I think the first power station that was offered me came at just the right time. We had had a winter storm, we had lost power, it was less than 24 hours, we didn't lose anything in our freezer, but I said, that we should be prepared for that, and the best way to be prepared for that is with a power station. I was looking at them, and lo and behold, a company reached out and offered one to me. I said, perfect timing. That's exactly the example I'll use for it. So what that's called is called scope creep. So your original scope, the original theme of my channel was on bushcraft and being out here in the woods. But it has widened. The scope of my channel has opened up a little bit more to accept things related to that, such as being prepared for emergencies. Now, I'm not a prepper, and I'm not looking at all the aspects of prepping and storage and all that type of thing, but even 72-hour emergencies, I think that's a reasonable thing to be prepared for at home. So, I do work towards that end, and car camping. So those are where most of the products I look at are aimed at one of those. Sometimes they're a little bit on the fringe. Sometimes you kind of have to stretch it to say, is this relative? And I'll be quite honest and full disclosure, there have been times after I reviewed a product, I said, that probably was not all that close to the theme of my channel. If I get another offer like that, I think I'll decline it because it was just too far outside of my theme. I don't think there is very many viewers that would want to see that. So that's how I obtain my items. I started with my own personal stuff. I started with gifts that were given to me by family members. I then moved into when companies were offering me things, and as long as they, like I say, are close enough to my theme, then I'll accept them. But now I have enough credibility, for lack of a better term, with certain companies that if I see something and I think, yes, my viewers would like to see that, and I'd like to have it as well, then I'll ask them, are you interested? And let me test it. And not everybody agrees, but quite often now, of course, I'm usually only asking for things I think they will agree to, like certain coffee makers and the like. So, that's the type of thing that I'll reach out for. So that's where the products come from my channel. Now, here's a good time to address probably one of the biggest comments I get. It tends to be a negative comment, but I'm going to turn it around and try and explain it. Take it for what it's worth. You don't have to agree with me. Is that I get my items for free. Yes, you're right. I get those items from companies for free. I do not pay for them. Now, sometimes I do. Sometimes I get a cooperative deal, for lack of a better word. They cover shipping, I buy the item, or they send me the item, I cover shipping, or some arrangement like that, because it can be quite costly for them, but they still want me to get it. And anyway, you get my point. Yes, the items are sent to me for the most part, and I do not pay for them. But let's just clear up what free actually means. People said, you get your items for free. And my response is, and I try to be positive about this, yes, the items came to me at no cost. However, in preparing for this video, I did probably between 5 and 10 hours of research and script writing, maybe 20, 30 hours of practice with it in some case, but testing out in the woods primarily, or carrying a flashlight around for long periods of time, or using a power station to power my refrigerator and recharge things, and getting used to the function of it and testing it out to the best of my abilities. So we now have about 30 to 40 hours of time invested in that item. Then I take it out to the woods and make a video. And videos are always longer than what you watch because there's editing, there's scenes that have to be redone. So it takes, let's say, on average, between 30 and 50 hours to create a video. And product reviewers know what I'm talking about. And I'm not elaborate in my videos. They're very, straightforward. I don't do a lot of fancy editing with them at all. I just want to deliver the information as best I can. I would say at 30 hours, let's just round it down to 30 hours. At 30 hours per video, if I was even making the minimum wage here in Canada, I'm not even sure what it is, around $15, what have I made? $45? $45. That's not quite right. What have I made? 30 times. Okay, I've made $450. If I was 30 hours of work anywhere else, McDonald's or anywhere else, at minimum wage, I could have bought the item. I could have bought the item and more often than not had money left over at $350. Now, here's the irony. Some of you will know I own a small consulting firm for my specialty that I had developed prior to my retirement. I don't do a lot of consulting work anymore, but when I do, I charge $120 an hour. You see my point? I'm not doing this for the money, obviously. Yes, I like the products. I'm not going to lie to you on that. Of course I like the products, most of them. Some of them turn out to be junk eventually, and unfortunately. I enjoy having the products, but I'm not doing it for the money. That's the next thing. I'm not getting paid a thing. No company, well, companies have offered, but I've accepted no payment for making of videos from any company, even though they've been offered. I will say, though, there are affiliate links on a few of the products that I review, which means that if you use the link in the video description, I will get a small commission on the sales of that. And I do mean small commission. It's not very much. It's more of an incentive. The incentive works both ways. It's usually you get 10% off and I get 10% in commission. That's what it amounts to. That's not even going to buy me a cup of coffee on any given day. So I just want to point that out in full disclosure. Fire Maple is a good example. In every Fire Maple video, if you look in the video description, you'll see a link that has my name right in the link. That means I get credit for that sale. If you buy something, you get 10% off and I get a little bit back. I don't even think it's 10%. I think it's 5% commission that I earn. So I point that out in full disclosure. Somebody's going to say, you're getting paid for it. No, you're getting a deal and I'm getting a deal. Let's put it that way. Now, you can interpret that the way you want. So that is about the products, and that is myth number one. I'm getting these things for free. I think I've gone over that well enough. If it sounds like I'm whining to you, well, you take it as it is. This is an explanation of the way I look at getting things for free. So, all right, I wanted to get down a little bit more. So I have another point here. So I guess the biggest question that I want to put out there, or the biggest reason for doing videos I want to put out there, is what am I trying to accomplish in the video itself? Well, hopefully I'm delivering information that will help you make a decision on whether or not it's something you want to purchase for yourself. I'm trying to provide viewers information that I would want the answers to if I was looking to buy that. Be it a knife, a power station, a wood stove, a coffee maker, a tent, whatever it is. If I was looking at that and I was trying to justify my hard-earned money in paying and purchasing that, I would want certain questions answered. I come up with those questions and then I try to answer them for you. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish in my videos. Now, the other thing I'm trying to do is, some products receive thousands of reviews. We all know when a certain company has got a new product and they try to get it out there, it seems like every reviewer is reviewing that product at the same time. I'm usually come a month or two late because of my testing process is longer than I think others will be spend at it. We all know when they're putting that product out there. I watch their reviews, absolutely. I'm looking to see what points they cover. If there's anything, I don't want to miss anything, but I want to see their points. But I'm also looking for what they don't cover. And that's also something I'm trying to incorporate it into the review, is things that you may not have considered, things that other reviewers may not have added to their video. I try, and hopefully this comes through, I try to go way beyond the surface of an item. Sometimes into the minutia, I'll agree. Sometimes I get down into details that nobody really probably wants to know, or very few people want to know. But my intent is to is there an alternate way of using something? Can I get more value out of this than other people have shown, or that's obvious and looking at it the first time? That's also something I try to incorporate into my videos as well. Okay, now, I could talk about my testing process, but I want to talk about the other myth first. The other myth that commonly comes across is that because someone gave it to me, I'm going to give it a good review. And let's just taste the coffee here, because I'm going to have a few things to say here, right? That's beautiful. And it's still nice and hot. All right, okay. So there's a common perception out there that reviewers are automatically biased. They're going to give you all the good information about a product and gloss over or not even mention any negatives about a product. They're going to try and make the manufacturer happy with the review so that, as the theory goes, they will send more products. Okay. I'm not sure if anybody has heard of this. I think I actually mentioned it in another video. It's called purchaser confirmation bias. You are more likely to brag up an item that you bought yourself than one that was given to you for free. As a purchaser, I don't want to admit I made a mistake in buying an item. Therefore, I'm probably going to tell people the good things about the item that I purchased myself. That's not always the case, but some people will be bluntly honest. You know, yeah, I wish I hadn't purchased it. It was a piece of junk. I made a mistake. I wish I could get my money back. But more often than not, if it's a nice, and here's the other part of the bias, the more expensive the item is, the more likely the person is biased to liking that item and saying good things about it if they purchased it themselves. If you get something for free, you're not really, you might think that I'm entitled to give good opinions about it, but I have no skin in the game. I didn't put any money into this item. If I don't like it, I say I don't like it, or I'll tell you what the negatives are on it. Here's the thing is, most of the items I bring to review, I do like, at least to a degree. I have only a few times really trashed items in my videos. I don't like trashing items, and I've got a friend of mine on that's a viewer that says, Mark, you got to come out and say what you don't like about it. I do. I try to sandwich it with the things that I do like about it. And my reasoning is anything I bring to you, with few exceptions, has redeeming value. It has good things to be said about it, but a lot of them have room for improvement. Now, this has paid off in the long run, I think, for a lot of people. People have said to me, I didn't realize that. Thank you for that information. But so have the companies saying, thank you for your honest review of the item. We'll take this into consideration. And then they've made changes. And, well, no, we'll leave. There is a knife that's coming out by a company whose knives I review that I had an issue with, and I was clear and transparent about the issue in my video. The knife has been redesigned, and the issue has been, well, we'll know once we get to the testing phase. It's not even in production yet. But they have changed the steel, they have changed the angle of the grind, and they have changed a few other features of the knife to improve its performance and durability. And that came from, I don't think just my review, but clearly the issue was there, and people had commented and said, this needs to be fixed. And the company stepped up and did the job. They fixed it. So that's the value of reviewers as well. If they're being honest and giving you the good and the bad and the ugly, then they're trying to save you from wasting any money, but they're also trying to tell the manufacturer this needs improvement. And yeah, okay. There are a few things that I have tested that I have never reviewed on video because they were just that bad. And I write to the company and say, improve this, and then I'll consider reviewing it. And companies have written back and made improvements. Some, though, were just so bad, and how should I say this politically correct? Other people gave them great reviews, but when I tested them, they were crap, in my opinion. And I wouldn't want anybody to purchase these items without having heard my opinion and finding out they were crap. So a couple of items I crapped on. And that's not my norm, but sometimes I feel it's necessary to do. All right, I think I've kind of covered all the points I wanted to for this video. I don't want to stretch it out any longer than necessary. Yeah, okay, let's just, we'll leave it at that. I will talk for a moment about my testing process because I think this speaks to the integrity of my reviews as well. Nothing is tested and reviewed at the same time. When you see something that I'm reviewing, I have tested it for a period of time. Now, some things don't show that, like flashlights don't show use and wear. Stoves do, pots and pans do. If they're not black and dirty, then I really haven't been testing them. So I will spend time getting things dirty, using them into the conditions that they're intended to be used, and then bring them for review. Sometimes it'll take me a week, and I'll speak to that in a moment. And sometimes it'll take me months before I'm actually doing it. Knives are usually carried out here for 3 months, 4 months. Used to be longer. Now here's what I found out about testing. My testing period on some things has shortened down. Reason being is I'm becoming more efficient at it in terms of knowing exactly what I'm looking for, what I'm going to test, how I'm going to test it. It's not just happenstance. I just happen to notice it during using it. I intentionally do tests for durability, edge retention. This is knives, of course, and that type of thing. So I can shorten the period of time down in my testing before I bring the knife to review. Same thing with stoves. I have enough experience with stoves now. I know exactly when I build a fire in it. I can observe it and I can make some assumptions based on my experience with stoves, whether or not this is going to function as is intended. And durability, well, it needs a few more burns than one. Usually stoves get 10 to 15 burns minimum before I bring them for a review. So that's why they're always dirty. There's nothing new out of the box that way. Other things, power stations, I don't have the ability and the background to do the testing that other reviewers have on things like power stations. What I can say is, as a user, here's what I've used it for, and then give you my thoughts on it. You know, whether or not the battery capacity is everything that the manufacturer says it is. I can tell you how long the thing ran for me, but I can't tell you if the capacity meets the manufacturer's specs or not, because I don't have that technical ability. I don't think people are looking for that in my reviews. I think they're looking for me, what are my thoughts on using it the way it was intended to be used. So I think that just kind of says to it. So if I say I've had, how should I say, when I bring a product to you for review, it's not the first time it came out of the box. I don't do unboxings. I have one or two and I've regretted doing it. I don't do unboxings. I like to use it for a period of time, and you honestly don't know a product. I discovered something today about the knife that I'm testing right now that I will be mentioning when it gets there. I would not have considered this until I was testing it, and I said, whoa, I almost caught myself. I didn't, but I'll explain when I get to that knife what it was I almost did, and why I had assumed it would work one way and it didn't work exactly the way I had assumed. All right, so that's what testing is all about. Okay, I've probably labored this on long enough. My coffee is starting to cool off. Still nice though, very good. And what I want to do now is kind of close the video with a few more comments. And first off to say, once again, I'm not trying to justify why I do reviews or how I do reviews. I just want to put out there my process and my thoughts on product reviews, and hopefully give you my opinions on the two bigger myths, such as I'm automatically biased because it was sent to me, and things I'm getting them for free. And all right, we won't go back there again. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Give me your comments. Give me your thoughts on this. Put them in the comments section below. But until next time, get out and explore and take that path less traveled, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.